Hey guys, welcome back to Parkitect University. In today's episode, we'll be exploring the scenario editor, and I'll basically lead you through on to set up your first scenario, and just to give you a rough outline of how things work with the scenario editor. Because I've been seeing a lot of community members of Parkitect having issues with how the editor sets up and how you can set things up and get things started. So first things first is the park size settings. This is the first window that pops up when you load into a new scenario editor or a new scenario. So we have choices of length, width, build height, and land height. So if we just like scroll around, you can tell and see here that this is how big the map's going to be. So 100 tiles by 100 tiles. We're going to keep it at that right now. And then we can either change the land height. I usually like going 4 or 5, not 45, like 4 or 5. So let's do 5, and the build height like 30. So build height is how high you can build your coasters or flat rides. That can be extended. So there's that. Generate flat land is just making sure that this is all flat. So you can have a completely blank slate if you wanted to, but sometimes that's boring, and that's even more extra work if you wanted to actually add terrain. So let's move on to the actual terrain tool. So this adds hills, valleys, water, and a diversity between the three. So right now it's set at a very default. So if I sit here and if I click here and generate, it will actually generate a pre-made map. So you can see here is just a very simple, a lot of water, river, and then sand and grass, and it looks like it picked the plain pine trees and birch trees. So we can change how this looks. So let's say if I wanted less water, I go like almost none, then generate. There, no water. Now I just have rolling hills. This is really nice for parks that are like in more forest biomes or stuff like that. Now what happens if I didn't want like more rolling hills? I want more like gentle hills. So I'll go for less diversity. So if I go high, this what happens. It makes them very, very sharp, and a lot of little mountains are everywhere. And if I want less mountains and more like spread out, I do less, like this. So it looks like you have these little sweeping lines of terrain and things like that. And then the next one is terrain types. So you get 2 types of terrain that you can pick that the map will generate. And if you don't want 2 different terrains, you can click on the same terrain. It'll just generate as a simple. Like it keeps spawning in water. How funny, because I have water. Well, I want no water because I don't care sometimes. I'll add rivers if I have to later. This also, you can change the amount between the 2 different terrains that you want. Diversity also works the same way. Beaches and beach sizes correspond with the water, so depending on how much water you want, and you want to make sure that your beaches are big and like, I don't know, big beaches or not a lot of beaches, that changes. So but if you cancel out water, these 2 options basically cancel at the same time, so that happens. And the last setting is the tree setting. So this is where you can pick what trees spawn in the map. So I don't like the birch tree at default. I like picking either the fern or the blobby tree, and sometimes the maple, but the maple is already colored red, so you would have to go in there yourself and paint them to green or something if you wanted it more darker. So I'll pick these 3 trees, and trees are from none to many, so we'll just go like maybe middle. This roughly will give you a lot of trees. And then forest size, like this is a forest size. This little chunk, I want those a little bigger. And then diverse means it'll pick more different trees at the same time to give it more of a diverse like look. So we'll just bring that up and then we'll generate, and you'll see I have forests that are pre-made, and I can then build my park through them or whatever I want to design, and it kind of works from here. So I do like how this looks. This is a good like starter map to kind of show you some of the like park borders and stuff like that. So when you're actually finished, you click finish. Now to warn you, you cannot go back to this setting window once you click finish, because it's generated, it's done. So be 100% or 110% sure that you're okay with the settings and are okay with how it looks, because this is the easiest way to get a park going, is when you have the terrain generator just kind of make you an environment, and then you can kind of build off it. It's like kind of great to go. So I like this, so I'll just click on. So now we're in a map that is completely open to us to basically shape our theme park around. But the first thing is to find this window. This is the scenario editor window. It's usually on this bottom of the screen, or well, yeah, toward the bulldozer. And this window is basically everything to do with scenario building. We'll start out with the first window is your park borders. So you have 4 options: owned, support rights, for sale, and untainable. Owned is what you own as a park. Support rights are a place where you can build out of your park border, but you can't build on the ground. For sale is for buying land, and unattainable is for neither. You can't do anything on this untainable. You can't do anything at all. You can't build on it. You can't do anything once you're in like a scenario. So owned is usually marked first, and so we're just going to make a very simple park border. Tip is if you wanted to take the entire land, you can, but it does give you a confusion of that the fences disappear. So if I did this, if I grabbed and dragged all the way across, there is no fences. It doesn't indicate that I owned all this land, so it is a confusing state. So I usually don't suggest you do that unless you really wanted to. But for the sakes of this video, we're going to keep it very simple. So we're just going to make a very simple park right here, just a square, and the fences just kind of spawn. And they go through trees, so you might want to clean that up if you want to, depending on your detailing that you want. So here's my land. So I own this square. I don't own anything outside. So the next thing is to get my entrance. Now this is where it gets confusing. The entrance building should be in this window, but it's not. You have to find it in the staff buildings or park utilities. So the park utilities, basically your delivery building, your depots, your staff buildings, all of the little things are in here. So we have 2 park entrances. We have the original default park entrance from Alpha and Beta. So if you really wanted a pre-made entrance, you can do this. Then we also have the very simple park gate, so you can do customization on park entrances. I like this one the most because I can do a lot with that. So actually we're going to put this one down so we can show it off. So it's now called Unnamed Park, but that's fine. Now you have to have a deliveries building. The delivery building doesn't have to necessarily be near your entrance, but it can be anywhere you want. It just has to be 2 blocks. It says 2 blocks away from the fence, and it has to be connected to said fence. And so this, when you put the depot down or the deliveries, it basically tells you which way your park is facing. Same thing with your park entrance. And there's also 2 other things from Beta 2 or from Alpha, are the delivery pad and delivery dump, or the trash dump. Those were from like Alpha before the delivery building was made. So I do like that these are in. So if you really wanted to make your park harder without using utility pipes, you can put these down. And they work just the same as deliveries. It just makes it a little bit harder, or it's harder maps, or maybe also for like a smaller map, because this depot building is quite large. So I have now put down my entrance and my deliveries. We're one step closer to making sure that this map is somewhat finished or somewhat playable. So now you need to put down a guest spawn. So guest spawn needs to have it on a path outside your park border, so it's outside my park border, and the path has to be connected to your entrance. If you cut this off, like if I went like this and cut it off and tried to save, it'll actually tell me. This tells you there needs to be a path connected to a guest spawn point to a park entrance. You need to unlock at least 1 attraction and research options of the scenario. So this tells you that your scenario cannot be saved until you do those things. And that can also get a little confusing, but we'll get to those other steps in about a couple seconds here. So now I've put down my spawn. Spawns. Don't do as many spawns because guests can walk back and forth, and once they touch the spawn again, they'll despawn. So when a path like this is straight, guests will walk straight into the entrance. There is no deciding for them. They'll just walk in and come into your park. Now if I put a fork in the road like this, and then decided to make, let's say, a second entrance here. Actually, it's just like this. Second entrance. So now the guest, when it gets here, their AI will decide either they want to go up or right. And that's okay. But if I decided to do this and put a spawn here, a problem can happen is the guest can walk here, turn this way, and turn back and despawn. And then you have completely lost that guest. So when you want to make a scenario that's realistic with like a lot of spawn points, try to make them single lines into your park. Don't do these cross sections or fork in the roads, because the guests are kind of stupid. They don't really walk into the park. They don't just know that there's a park here and they just wander aimlessly. So tip is, don't kind of do this. Try to stay away from it, or put fences up and stuff like that to kind of deter them toward your park. I do this for some of my scenarios to make it hard, so that you lose guests. It's kind of a challenge thing. Or I like to do is do like a fork in the road like this, so they either decide which entrance or not, depending. So that's just how I found out those are cool little things to do for design. So that's guest spawn. The next couple tabs are kind of cool. This is the Instructable Objects tab. So if I built a building, let's do a quick building of just a roof over my station, or my entrance here. So we'll do like this right here, and there you go. And then I'll just mark it as undestructible, and there, that one too. And so now they will not be destroyed. You can't destroy this. This object is for making bad decoration, so I can make a prop and then make it bad decoration rating. General settings are where your money is typed in. So let's say if I wanted this to be 50,000, and it changes immediately at the bottom here. Price per land, so you can change the price for buying land. Disallow terraforming and disallow building underground if you want to make your thing more challenging. And then your height limit, so this is 100 units, so that's depending on how high coasters go or how high terrain will go. Other options are you can't charge park entrance, free rides, free shops, and then your scenario description is basically just right here. It's just kind of describe what your scenario is. Guest settings. This is actually quite interesting depending on the scenario you want to do. But if you just want to build a sandbox map, you don't have to touch this. You can kind of leave it as is. You kind of give them more money or not, making guests on a high count or not, calmer, intense rides they prefer. You can make all their satisfactions kind of easy or hard, depending. Research. So research you have to have some of these enabled or not enabled if you want to have the scenario save. So for example, if you want to do a sandbox type of map that you want to build your own theme park in, I suggest you go make sure that everything is researched that you want, every single ride category, and then make the stats researchable, so that, or statistics, and so then it kind of completes that goal, and then that's done. But there's all the rides are in here, every single one of them, and decoration. Goals are quite, not say advanced, they're advanced depending on what you want to do, but we'll just do a very simple goal. I'll show you how you set that up. Like let's do coaster count. If you pick coaster count, you add goal, and it gives you a default of what it is. So let's say we want to build 5 coasters, and we want the coasters to be an excitement of something. So we'll make the excitement of 70. So now we have that goal. Now we don't have a reward to it. You don't have to put rewards on every goal. It's good not to sometimes, because you want the player to kind of do goals, like 2 goals, then get a reward or something like that. But rewards are actually easy to do too. Same thing with, we can do money, research, or terrain unlock. So terrain unlock would be like land, for example, like this. So edit land, and let's say we get this much land, and then voila, we got land. Or we can add a reward to money. So let's say it's like $2,000, and you just add reward, and it just kind of piles up on top of the already terrain. So at this point, if I went to this window, you can see that it's already piling up as rewards on top of this reward. or this goal. So this is kind of the basics ideas of it. I'm just kind of messing around with it. And the last tab is your climate. So we have 4 different options: default, high temperatures, rainy, and custom. So rainy is kind of explains what it is. It's rainy, so it rains all the time and like most of the months. High temperatures, it barely rains, but it has high temperatures, so guests will be more bothered by it. And then default's kind of a mix between the two. And then custom is you go through every single month, and then after every single month you can change what sunniness, cloudiness, stormy, and temperature is. So if you really wanted no like rain, you could, technically speaking, go through all 12 months and lower them. So that is everything that is in the scenario editor tool and how the park is kind of set up. But everything else about the scenario editor is basically it. There's nothing else that I can enlighten you on. See, now all our goals are complete after the save, so that means we can save and then type in what we want, and then we can save it. But I hope this video helps in the scenario editor, and yeah, we'll get on to other types of Parkitect University videos and some other projects that I have in mind. So I'll catch you guys later. So see you in the next video.